All right, last week we made some fresh green beans for the dolls. Today we are making some cooked green beans for the dolls. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, so first let's talk about what we're doing. Last week we made fresh green beans to look, and we matched the color and the shape of some fresh green beans. This week we are going to replicate some cooked green beans. As you can see, they're a different color than the fresh ones. And for that we need to mix a new clay. And you can see I've got my clay pretty close to the real thing. So let's talk about what we're doing. We're starting with that same leaf green mixture that we had last week. Now, if you can get leaf green or you have leaf green clay in your stash, go ahead and use that. If not, you can mix it using colors similar to what I used last week. I'll try to remember to put the picture of the colors I used in this video right here that I used last week. If not, that picture will be in the blog post for today's video. So we're going to take this clay and we're going to mix in some black. I played with all kinds of colors yesterday, exercising some of the color theory I learned in school. I'm going to start with half as much black, and I'll see how I like that color. Green is a color that stays pretty true to the raw clay once you bake it. So we can get it close and then we'll try it out. So I am going to turn the camera off and I'm going to combine this clay, this half, like 1 part black to 2 parts leaf green. I'm going to get this combined completely and then I'll come back and show you how that looks. All right, this is the color I got with the clays I showed you. I don't feel I need to make any adjustments. So it was 2 parts of the leaf green to 1 part of the black. And I'm really happy. So now I'm going to make some cooked green beans. We're going to start out the same as we did last week for the raw green beans. We're going to make some balls because sometimes, at least I cook green beans whole. Just cut the stem end off and cook them that way. So I'm going to double check that's a good size. Not too big, not too small. And I want to make these again. I've got one of my raw ones from last week. And the only thing we're going to do different for these is we're going to make sure that stem end is cut off nice and flat. No stem to put in, just that way. You can make them as straight or as crooked as you want, make some longer, make some shorter, doesn't matter. And I'll make more off camera because we're going to play around with a couple of different ways to decorate these once they are ready to display. So that's how to do some. Now, even easier. Let's say your dolls want to have some cooked green beans that are cut. I've got way too much clay there because I want to get this down to approximately, I think that's about 1/8 of an inch. Now remember, these green beans are not a perfectly smooth length, so it doesn't have to be a perfect snake that is exactly the same length, the same diameter. All right, that's fine. Now I want to make these, probably a little over a 1/2 inch. So I've got my ruler here. I'm going to make myself some room. And I usually cut my green beans to be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. So I'm going to cut them for the dolls at about, let's go about 3/4 of an inch. Or even a 1/2 inch. Probably 3/4. Trying to keep track of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to talk, watch my phone for messages about a delivery I'm expecting any minute, and talk to you guys and keep track of what I'm doing. It's a bit much for my brain today. So if I sound distracted, that's why. There's a lot going on. So I'm going to continue rolling and cutting pieces. I'll make some more of these. I'll make more of the cut ones. Then I'm going to put them on a paper plate, bake them at the recommended temperature for my clay for about 10 minutes, and then allow them to cool to room temperature. And when that's done, I'll come back and we can move on to the next step. All right, I've been playing around with the green beans and coming up with a couple of different ways to display them. I decided rather than doing a whole bunch of ideas that you guys may not be interested in, I'm going to show you 2 today. And then I want you guys to respond in the comments, either here on YouTube or over on the Facebook group, of other things you want to replicate that you need some help figuring out with the beans. So let's do the first one. I'm going to use the long ones for this, the whole beans. And the way we're going to display these, we are going to make them group into like a serving. Now you could do this as a whole bowl full of green beans. Like if you have a doll-sized serving dish, you could go ahead and do these and put them in that and do a bunch of them together. I'm just going to do enough to go like on a doll's plate. I have satin Mod Podge. And I'm going to pour just as small of an amount as I can out of the bottle. It's okay because we're going to move it. Now I am working on a piece of parchment paper. This is my parchment paper I'm going to be mixing on. This is the piece of parchment paper I'm going to move both servings of green beans to for them to dry. It's really important, especially for drying, that you have these on a non-stick surface because Mod Podge will act as a glue, which is why one of the reasons we're using it. We're using it so it'll make this a little bit wet looking because cooked green beans would have a little bit of a sheen to them. And I have a wet wipe. Just pulled it out of the container. So try and cover the green beans with a thin coat of satin Mod Podge. Not very much, just barely coat them. Put them however you think they would land on the doll's plate or in the serving bowl, like I said. Now, this batch, I'm going to give them a little more movement to them. All right, for this batch of green beans, I'm going to top them with a sprinkling of quote-unquote lemon zest. I do that a lot in real life. I put lemon zest on my green beans. Maybe a squeeze of lemon juice and a little bit of lemon zest. So you might be saying, how are we going to make lemon zest? What I have here is yellow embroidery floss. This happens to be a variegated yellow because it was the first one I came to. I'm kind of pulling apart the threads. Remember, embroidery floss typically has 6 strands of thread that are kind of twisted together. Untwist them, take a pair of scissors, and cut really tiny little pieces. That's about all we're going to need. It's probably extra from what I need. Now, one of my favorite tools for attaching little tiny pieces to projects is a piece of raw spaghetti. Get the end of it just barely damp, however you want to, and don't breathe on your little cuttings of thread. It'll pick them up, but it won't hold them. Yeah, try not to talk or breathe while you're doing this. And you can put as many or as few as you want. It's okay if they're all together. And spread them out a little. And on other foods, we'll probably use other colors of embroidery floss to make similar looks. So there are our lemon zest on our green beans. Let's take these cut green beans and make it maybe a little more simple. Again, just a little bit. And it's okay if you get more than you need because, like I said, we're picking them up. Get your green beans arranged however you want them. And remember, you can always look online at like recipe blogs or even companies that manufacture, or maybe like any place that has recipes for green beans is what I'm trying to say. My brain is not functioning today. Look for recipes with good pictures online and replicate those pictures. Get an idea of what you want. Now I have some white sand. I bought this off of eBay. It actually was sold as Unity sand for weddings. But in doll food, it makes wonderful salt or sugar, depending on what you're putting it on. So there we go. We've got a little salt sprinkled over our green beans. I'm going to let these dry. When they are completely dry on the top, I'm actually going to flip them over because the bottom will probably have a little bit of wet Mod Podge. That will take longer to dry on the bottom side, so I'll flip them over. I'll get them completely dry, and then I'll come back and we can take a look at these. And like I said, you guys give me some ideas of what you want to see made with some more green beans, and we'll come back and revisit the green beans. So let's let these dry. All right, here are our finished green beans, and I've got a prototype of a plate. I'm working out a pattern to do plates, but I thought I would show you this on there. Could have used a few more beans on that one, but I've kind of used them up playing around with different things, and I need to make more, but I love how these came out. Let's look at the pile, this pile again. Can you imagine that? Along with other foods that we've made, we can make the dolls a really cool dinner. You can always glue these down to whatever plate you want to use them on, or leave them loose so they can be placed onto plates with other things and interchanged. Be sure and check the blog post. There'll be photos over there and more information. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see, both food and non-food, in future tutorials? If you enjoyed my content and haven't subscribed, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.